Ouais, bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue donc au festival, la 15e édition du festival Zoom Photo Saguenay. On est très content, il y a une grande foule réunie aujourd'hui pour la dernière table ronde, donc pour ce samedi, même dernière journée du festival. Et puis on a vraiment des invités extrêmement intéressants aujourd'hui donc on se trouve dans le cadre de ce festival, donc, dont la thématique a été décidée à travers Adrienne Surprenant, photographe québécoise dont tout le monde est très fier ici, sur la thématique donc, des indépendances au pluriel. Et aujourd'hui, on va parler de l'indépendance de nos corps, ou en tout cas de comment chacun peut disposer de son corps. Et on a un panel donc, sur l'affirmation, la reconnaissance des genres et des corps à travers le parcours de deux ou en fait de trois photographes. Aujourd'hui, and so this panel will be in English because it's going to be easier for everyone to interact. So I'm going to start by briefly introducing the guest we have today. So we have here Mahe Elipe, who is a French photographer now based in Mexico. Since 2016, I believe, and she's working mainly on gender-based issues, women rights in Mexico. She has won many awards for her work. She's been nominated for a National Geographic grant. She won the Françoise de Mulder Prize at Visa pour l'Image, Sony World Photography Awards, and been working with many clients, Libération, Le Monde, Bloomberg. Very good work.
Thank you.
You're doing. And then here we have a duo of photographers who have been working collectively on a project. Here we have Sarah Blesener, who is a US New York-based photographer. Has been working for a long time about the impact and the ways to transmit trauma and gender-biased trauma through photography and through a collaborative photography approach, and has been working in Russia as well, and has been nominated for various prizes, including the Eugene Smith Fellowship, and also a first prize in World Press Photo in the long-term category project, and tries to inform a practice with a better knowledge of trauma and trauma care to adapt our photographic practice. And here she's been working with Alex Williams, who is a Brooklyn-based photographer and producer. And so the introductions are made. So now I will let you introduce your incredible projects. We'll have some pictures in the back, and maybe Sarah and Alex, I leave you speak first.
Sure. Oh yeah, I know this photo. So Sarah and I reached out to Sarah to document my transition from female to male. And I was going to go about this surgery alone. I hadn't told anyone that I was going to transition. It was going to be a big secret, but I reached out to Sarah to kind of give me strength and to document it. And I also wanted to show this process to other people who were curious about doing the same thing, because I didn't have anything to look to when I was researching how to do this myself. I was overwhelmed. So Sarah made me feel strong and beautiful and really just got to got into my soul. It wasn't meant to be this big project, but it turned into a big project, and it documented kind of the whole transition of the first year. But yeah, it's been and we're still working on it. We're still continuing it. But these photos that you're looking at, these are me in Florida. It turns out Florida is the best place to get top surgery, which is ironic because it's Republican state, and they do not like transgender people. But we went there for it, and these are the photos that you're seeing. And then like we've been keeping up with it, and on anniversaries and such, we'll take more photos just to see how everything has slowly changed, slowly transitioned. So yeah, Sarah, I'm going to give it to you because
That was excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think the main thing to stress is that it was just meant to be something between friends. Like, we never imagined this to be a project that we wanted to pitch to a publication. For us, it was, very personal. And the way that we went about it was, we didn't want to show this in a I think, a documentary sense. We wanted to try to access something a bit more psychological. Like, what does it feel like to evolve in that sense? Mm-hmm. It's horrific, and it's beautiful, and it's destructive, and it's a lot of contradiction. It's not so simple as a before and after. So our goal was to kind of avoid these kinds of pictures. We didn't want to have like a literal clinical approach to it, but we wanted to tap into the dream. Like, what does it feel like in your spirit?
Yeah, to have a part of you die, like a part that you've had your whole life, you're parting ways with. It's a new journey from now on. So that's what we were documenting. Yeah, and I think what made this feel very special for me was also the process was, I don't know, the word collaborative feels not strong enough. Like, it felt really intertwined. For example, in the beginning, what we did was we wrote down the colors of our dreams that we were having, and we were both dreaming in similar colors. So I was dreaming in like a yellow, amber, and also you have some blue, and same as you. And we decided to photograph with that color spectrum to kind of imbue it with our inner life and have the secret language too. Like, people around us might not know that the colors of the project represent that, but we know, and it felt like, oh, this is our secret visual language we can create together. But all the choices were, it was a lot of discussion. Everything was very intentional, like what kind of backdrops we used, what kind of framing, the inspirations, what informs it. Looked at a lot of like classical Greek statues and thought about gesture and how to make that more subversive, like how to look at the idealized body and change it. But yeah, I think for me, what I found in the end, beyond this incredible friendship with Alex that got so much deeper from this project, was ideas around the divide between the person making the art and the person being photographed, and how problematic that can be in documentary, and trying to challenge that and question the power dynamics within that, and what it means to be mutually witnessed. Like, I felt very seen by Alex, I felt very vulnerable. For me, it was also transformative in a different sense. And having a lot of these decisions be mutually mixed, it's no longer like you have an author and a subject, or a participant and a practitioner. These words felt a bit hierarchical and outdated for the kind of work that we wanted to do. So I think it gave me some freedom to explore that and challenge it and feel its limitations too, but yeah.
Thanks so much. I think we'll have to dig deeper in all those. And Mahe, maybe can you introduce us to the project you are showing here in Zoom?
Yeah. First of all, I want to thanks for the space and for sharing together all the story, because it's for me really deep to see the picture and the deep connection you can have together, guys. So it's kind of inspiration for me. So thank you for that. I'm presenting a project I'm doing since I arrived in Mexico about the strait of women in Mexico and how they are going out of the status of victim for being like defending their own rights. So for me, it was really looking for this kind of inspiration of fighting and love, and how they are building new inspiration for, not new inspiration, but inspiration for all the women. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. There's a lot of people, so. So the series is built in different chapters. So I'm trading different axes on different subjects, like abortment, mothers who are looking for their child, also about feminicide and fighting and defending environment. So the idea was really, I think I was trying to find a dialogue they can have between each other, because the fact wasn't to say it's a different woman, but more like we all of us have this kind of force.
Force? Strength, yeah.
Stronger inside, and how they have similitude between each other. Yeah, so I think, I don't know, do I have to go deeper or?
No, we can do it after.
Yeah?
But
Okay.
because I think there's something that's maybe a bit similar in your project, that we're not only talking about the way it's going to be published or where it's going to be shown, but there's really an importance that both or the three of you gave to the making of the project. So doing the pictures, being there, and using the processes of making the pictures, in your case for your transformation, your collaboration together. And you mentioned, Mahe, like the fact that maybe through the fact that you take pictures, these different groups, they kind of relate to each other in new ways. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, what is the question?
Si le fait de prendre les photos des différents groupes, ça leur permet eux-mêmes de se découvrir et de rentrer en connexion ensemble.
You have to, as a photographer, if you want to have this kind of exchange, you have to do to be the bridge, no? I mean, it's not because you take the picture about different kind of community of people who do the same, more or less the same stuff, they are communicating together. So if you want to have this kind of exchange, and which is a fact really interesting as a photographer, how do you want to do with your work? Do you want to only take picture and show picture, or do you want to share with people and share their, like an outil?
A tool?
Be like a tool. So actually, in this different chapter, some of one on the chapter, some of the picture was only like, okay, I'm Mahe Elipe, I'm French, I'm white, I'm going in this community and going to share with you, and I'm just taking the picture and keep the contact with people, and the work is basically here. Or also other chapter where, for example, with abortion and acompañantes de aborto.
Abort.
Women who are helping other women to abort, for example. Here,
escorts.
I'm really working to continue the network between each woman. So, which is more interesting because they are communicating together and stuff like that. At the end, the goal will be to share all the story of all the women, but I mean, it's like, it's the reason why it's interesting to have a long-term project, so you need time to understand how it's working, how you can do this kind of bridge, how you can build a project more deeper and just only visual.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And how you feel that does it transform also the way you photograph or the content of your photograph? Because maybe you discover new relations between people or between you and the people you photograph?
But I think you are always changing your mind and the way you are looking the story or people, because you're growing all the time, no? And I think when you, I don't know, even you guys, when you do the picture, well, all the project, I suppose, you change the way you are touching the thematic. They were speaking about drink, for example. Mm-hmm. So one night you dream in yellow, and the other night in blue. So I think it's quite the same when you do when you're thinking about your project and your relationship with it.
Mm-hmm. It's always
moving,
ongoing.
I
moving,
think it's
moving,
and it's a little bit the same fact. But feminism, for example, inspired me a lot, and it was what we were talking about. Feminism it's something who is growing up all the time. So you have moments where you have struggle and women on the street, and other moments where they are just together just for share idea, and so it's a little bit like that. I'm thinking my project now. In some moment I'm really deep on the subject, other moment where I just take a more distance just for moderate a little bit the thematic, and share with other photographer or in this kind of space, for example.
Thanks. And Alex, I'm curious. You're a photographer yourself, and as you mentioned, you wanted to do your process. Kind of no one that is close to you would know about that, but yet you chose photography as maybe a medium that would be good to accompany you in this process. Why specifically still photography was of interest?
It was really just Sarah, because I reached out. I didn't know Sarah very well. I reached out to Sarah. I've seen Sarah's work, and I was like, this is what I want. Because the truth is, I was terrified of this whole thing, of the transition. I didn't tell people. I didn't want anyone's input. I just wanted to like get there on my own, and I knew Sarah would listen to me, and make me feel okay. Because I really, like those photos, I'm terrified. Like I know something's about to happen. My whole life is about to change. No one knows it. And Sarah just made me see myself in it, like made me feel strong. Those photos, like the still photography, it wasn't that or video, it was just Sarah. I needed that lens to see me. Because like there's I've said this to you before, but it's like, you know, when an animal knows it's going to die, it gets quiet, it goes off on its own. And I knew a part of me was dying, and it wasn't coming back. This person I've known my whole life, this identity, would be no longer. And I wanted to see that death in a beautiful way, and I think that Sarah was able to do that with the photography that we made together. And it gave me power. I like as soon as that came out, like the response to the photos, it was overwhelming. I don't think either one of us expected it, and the acceptance I got from it, it was amazing. It made the whole thing so easy. I don't even see a before. There was no before. It's like my life started with those photos, because that was like when my life changed. And I don't know, maybe photography is comfortable for me because it's what I know. I'm not good in front of the camera, but Sarah made me look good, and I was excited about that. That was a big plus. So yeah, it wasn't just photography, it was Sarah. I was looking for that lens.
Okay.
So.
I want to cry.
Yeah.
And yeah, the amazing thing is that you didn't, as you said, there was a project among friends that you didn't really plan to show somewhere. So for you, was did you want to see the results, or just the fact of being photographed, creating the photograph together? That act, was it more important, or was it when you see the result and then kind of realize the?
I was struggling to see myself in that moment. And I wanted those photographs to see myself in that moment. Like, I felt very lost in the process, and it grounded me, so I wanted them for me. I didn't think that we were going to publish them, but they turned out really fucking good. So then we put them out there. But it was really just, I needed it to move forward. And after the photos, after the surgery, is when I started testosterone. Everything started changing. My body started changing. But the project with us, like in the beginning, is what gave me that strength to make those next steps. Because there's a sense of shame in the process in the beginning of, like, you know, it's talked about in the news, like, you're a freak, or you're this, or you're that. And I know my family in the South, we have never talked about me transitioning. It's just never happened. I just keep coming back to Christmas with more facial hair. And it's no one, they've not seen the photos or anything. But I just knew it would be hard to do it alone. And I just needed someone else to be there, showing me that I was okay and strong. And so that's why Sarah was there.
Yeah, I think maybe photography can give you a chance to slow down, which feels the opposite of journalism, which feels so fast all the time. And it's an excuse to pause and to breathe and like to work through something in real time. It's not just documentation. It's when we're sitting in a room taking a portrait, it's an hour where you can sit and like digest and think and struggle, but not be alone in that. Like to be witnessed in that moment is not really about the photo.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, it's.
Really.
I think it can be cathartic, and that's the magic of it. But I think in the end, the results are wonderful because it touches people, but I think I'm someone who believes that the process is far more important than the photo. The photo I can live without any day, to be honest. But the act of making it and creating it, it feels like an exorcism, like you're getting something out of you, and it's pretty violent. And the end result of that is like you're able to work with and through your own trauma and memory, but not alone. Like that witnessing is mutual. So I think the medium in this context can be a chance to slow down and to think and to like remember that you're in the room. Like you said, it grounds you. Yeah, trauma always wants to make you absent and to leave. And if photography can be cathartic, then I believe in that. And when it's not, then I don't. I think it's that simple. But in this project, it felt like really seeing the power of mutual recognition, of slowing down and having the process become more important than the end result. Like, again, we didn't think about publication. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters is Alex and the moment that we're in. So, yeah.
And for you, was it the first time you were collaborating in a project in such a way? Or did you have the experience already in trying to work like this? For me, collaboration is really, really important in all of my work, but it never felt this intense or central to the project. Like we were even saying, this is the first time we've, like sharing a byline on work. And in the United States, it's really hard to have that allowed. People want like an easy explanation of who's the author, who's the one being photographed, and there has to be like a power divide. So I think this is the first time that we refused that. Like we didn't pitch to publications, we didn't want it to go anywhere out of our hands. We're very protective of it. So it's not the first time, but I think this experience transformed my way of photographing because it showed me the power of that kind of process and collaboration and how different it feels and how it looks different. It all feels imbued with a different kind of like, I don't want to use the word spiritual, but like some kind of magic in it. So it was the first time it felt really transformative. But I think after that, I can't go back. Like, you can't go back to who you were, and I can't go back to who I was. But I would never work in a way now that didn't include that kind of exchange and sharing and like mutual knowledge and respect. I don't know. I feel like it was a mark for me as well. But also, since we didn't work with the publication, there was no rules. We could create our own language. We could make mistakes. We could take bad pictures and be like, cool, it doesn't matter. Like, it was just out of the love of the moment. And I think for me, I work as a journalist, so I can get kind of caught in like the language of how to make pictures, and having a chance to just discard that and to experiment with you. Part of collaboration, I think, is like a lot of play. Like you can have fun and try new things. And for me, that was incredibly transformative too. And you mentioned the maybe the challenge of power dynamics, or the one taking the picture, the one being photographed. Was it challenging for you also to let go of that at the beginning of the project, or was it like a relief?
No, it was like a relief. Yeah, it didn't feel challenging to let go of that because I never felt like I was holding on to that dynamic, because it was. I mean, Alex reached out to me. It felt already from the beginning like that was the language we were using, so we weren't trying to force it. It just kind of happened naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we explain it to other people, it's harder, you know, but not in the process.
The process, we use very few words with each other. It was more instinctual. Like, there was not a lot of talking about it. Like, we talk about dreams and colors and maybe like this backdrop, but for the most part, we weren't speaking to each other. We were just connected in a way. Yeah. So that's the first time that's ever happened to me. Yeah. Maybe it was because I was so terrified. But anyways, you were comforting in that way of like letting me just be who I was. And yeah.
But I mean, I think it's been really nice sharing work with, I teach like a lot of younger students, and even talking to younger journalists saying like, you can have an exchange of conversation, people can inform your decisions, it can be shared, like you can have this kind of relationship journalistically, and that's ethically more than okay. And having to push back against those small things, I think this work has been a good example to like teach that too, like ways of working that look different and can feel different.
And what about you, Mahe? What's your, let's say, rhythm of work when you're in the field, maybe in a community? How long do you stay, and do you take pictures at first? Do you have like this maybe classical photojournalistic approach, or would you be more in the taking the time and?
Well, I think I have a problem to finish stuff. So it's the reason why I'm working on it since 7 years, almost. But I mean, I always try to come back and stay in touch with people, because my way to photograph and work with women in particular is like trying to learn about their story. And I don't know if, I mean, it's easier to say I'm sharing, but I have no idea about what I'm giving to them. I have more the feeling I'm learning a lot. So, and I was pretty bad at school, so I need time for learning. So, yeah, for example, Las Patronas was the one with who I start my project. And at this moment, I didn't know I will start a project on 7 years. But I came back to see her 1 year ago, and it was like, okay, 6 years later, I come back and just for see what happened and see what's the way they are working, what is changing, no? And I'm changing too, how I'm looking the context and how they are sharing with me also. So I think for me it's really important to have the chance to come back, but it's not always possible. Firstly, for the question of
traveling?
the dinero,
The money.
the money. So at the beginning, I started this project independently, without grant or without anything, just by myself, and I didn't have a publication. But 7 years, hopefully 7 years later, I'm a little bit. It's a little bit more comfortable for me to work. But I'm also thinking, for me, it's important to have this kind of opportunity to take time, but it's not always possible. But also, I think it's depending a lot about the connection I will have with people. It will be a lie if I told you, oh, with all the report I did, I have a really big connection. No, I think it's human and it's genuino, ¿cómo se dice? This word?
Which word?
Genuino.
True.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's working, and I try to continue to build it. But it's something you have to build, I think, and for that you need time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a reason why for me it was really important to work on something I really, it really counts for me deeply. So I can take all over the time I want to think about it.
And you say for you, going to Mexico and bit by bit you kind of started to discover all these fights based on gender, all these issues that you were not necessarily aware. So that was like this learning process you described that kind of journey in discovering all these
Yeah, absolutely. I think they literally help me to be legitimize
legitimize.
my work and what my dream, you know, to follow as a photographer. Like I can continue, I can dream to be a photographer and dream to meet people and work on it. You know, because, and I remember a lot of time women who told me, ponte chingón dame, or that, I mean, you have to be strong, no? And I go, okay, yeah, you're true. Okay, so I can continue like that. Because what I was telling you, as a girl, I grew up with feminism about the 16, and I was like, okay, I was born too late. So, and when I arrived in Mexico, I understand, no, it's just a different perspective, and it's growing differently depending on the context and where you are. And for me, it was really inspiring to understand I mean, because, for example, when I was a child, I was thinking, okay, I always thought about being a photographer when I will be a woman. And at the beginning, I was thinking, well, yeah, but it's impossible because, and when I will be in the desert and I will have my period, I will not, where I'm going to put my Tampax? It's impossible. And after that, I go, okay, but it's not because you don't have in your head someone who did that, which is the point important. I mean, it's really important to have a model and friend of you who can motivate your choice and what you want to do. And it's a little bit what I'm looking for when I'm taking picture, just to have something in the collective memory, something where even depending the context where you are living, you can see it's okay. Some women can do. If this woman can do that, I can do something too. Like inspiring not only my own and personal vision, but just yeah. I don't know. It's maybe it's just personal, and I have this vision, and the other woman no. I have no idea. But for me, it was my process to just see it's possible to be strong.
Because you mentioned when you first started in photography, you didn't have any reference, any female model of photographers.
No, well,
and that was kind of disturbing for you, or
no, because when I did, as I tell, I didn't studying a lot, but the only stuff once I took a course about history women. It was really it was a shock for me because we just I understand. For example, for me it was really a shock because I understood a lot of women built France, and when I was a child, the name of the woman wasn't in the book, so it was like how it's possible they didn't appear in what they teach us. So if, for example, I ask to you, how many people do you know? How many, for example, give me 5 names of a woman famous who built a country or built something. You are going to think about it a lot of time. And if I ask you how many guys, well, tell me name about guys who built a country, it's going to be really fast and you can say a lot of names, no? And so for me, it was really the fact who motivate my perspective and why I'm doing this kind of work.
So you kind of building a new set of reference or a new way to tell a story where for example,
for
in
me.
your case, women you think are important for you are put in the center of your story.
Yeah, and I think if some at one point this can just wake up one woman and one girl at what moment I win. I don't know. Yeah, but for example, I just see it on my for example with my my sister, who is smaller than me. And when she saw my picture, she was like, "Wow, this woman do that! Wow!" And I know for her it was really important to see this picture. I have no the idea I want to touch all the women in the world, which is impossible. But at least the closer circle I have, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Good.
It was hard.
We can rest a little bit. And now we have a microphone here, which is open for questions. So hopefully, with all these people in the public, we'll have many questions, maybe from our students. Don't be shy. Yeah?
Okay, thank you for sharing. Your work is amazing. I really also work in collaboration, so I know it's very powerful. And I want to, because it's not common, like Alex is here telling the history that you are living. I want to know, because also Sarah was telling us it's a mark that changed now your work, your future work. Now I want to ask Alex if this is a mark to your work. I know you are a producer, you work with other storytellers, so having this process with Sarah reframe your work? And the other question is, what's next? No, maybe not exactly what's next, but if you are thinking something more, I think I have time with you guys. I know this change in a way your work. So if you are thinking something more, and yeah, I really appreciate what you are doing.
Thank you. What's next? I'm always wondering what's next. As far as how I've changed in the process, yeah, I think storytelling for me has changed. And I had to see it through a different lens. We have two very different ways of, I guess, storytelling or perspectives. The photos that I thought were telling a story were the photos you liked least, and all the photos that you liked, I was like, nah, it's but anyways, it's I never worked with someone before. I've always been on my own doing photo projects. And my big thing in school was voyeurism, so I really didn't collaborate with people to their knowledge. So that's new to me. But yeah, for what's next is we're trying to expand in our collaboration. We're working on a short film, and I'll let everyone know when it's coming out. And yeah, so it's changed. It's working with someone has definitely changed how I work and how I perceive my work and other people's work. So yeah, it was a really good experience. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
Well, I paid Sarah, so just letting them know. But yeah, so we'll be collaborating more, hopefully.
Yeah.
Thanks. Both projects are so amazing, and thank you both, all three of you, for sharing. I have a question for each of you. So, first of all, between Sarah and Alex, what was the actual photo making process like for both of you? Because a lot of the pictures you say are kind of you figure out backdrops, but they look so natural and beautiful and in the moment. So I'm just curious, what was the engagement like during your sessions? And also for Mahe, do you ever have the desire to do a project about yourself and self-portraiture while you're exploring your projects that you work on?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No. I take a lot. No. Take a lot of time. Go firstly, so like that I have time to think about it.
Okay. To be honest, for me, on my side, I was terrified of everything that was about to happen. We were shooting before a major surgery that could go wrong. I had no idea what I was going to look like. I had no idea what the feedback was going to be. So I look really calm. It's like a duck on water, right? It's like, it's calm, it's gliding, everything seems fine, but underneath it's like this, and that's what was happening inside of me. And I don't know how Sarah managed to avoid that, but I look really at peace. But I was spinning inside. But yeah, so I let Sarah take the lead, like for the most part. At least I think so. Like Sarah's like, move this way, the light, like that, and I was like, yeah, okay. And but I was really somewhere else in the whole. Like I see that in the photos. I see that my eyes are somewhere else, and I wanted to see that. I wanted these photos. I wanted to remember. This is fucking terrifying, and I can see that. But Sarah had a way of shooting it to where I looked calm. I get that a lot. Is that I looked really at ease, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is super hard to
Yeah.
do on both sides. The person's being photographed and the person's
Yeah.
I mean, something we did is kind of creating rituals, like not just photographing when you have good light or a moment, but like there's a reason behind why and when we take a picture. Like the night before surgery, we went to the ocean. Alex kind of had like a baptism. Like you go into the water and it like marks a moment as like a threshold. Like, and the photography is a way to create a ritual together. So I was thinking about the photos that way, where it wasn't just like I have a photo I have in mind. It's like, how can we mark this moment in a way that will make it feel like you're passing through something and not just running through this experience feeling terrified. So I do think there is like a piece there because it was really intentional. And even the portraiture, like it was mostly, I guess, true to documentary form. Like we have a few portraits with the backdrop, but it was, other times was like, we're doing it because we need to pass a moment with intention. Like I like thinking of photography as a ritual, and if you can do that together, I think it marks it differently. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
If I had the idea to do a project on me,
your work is so thoughtful, and you're with other groups of people, but I feel like you're also exploring your own identity. I feel like how I do too. Like I explore my own identity through my work, and I feel like it's very similar that way.
I think definitely, but I think actually the thematic I'm working on are definitely speaking about me too. Also, I mean about gender violence or abortion, or I mean it's something. But we are speaking about time. I think it's like, okay, first of all, I had to see all the context of the condition of the woman or the problematic, which allow me to think about my own life. And actually, I'm thinking about it, but I have a kind of internal conflict. Like, okay, I don't pretty sure it's really interesting for people to understand how my nombril is working. But it could be something really personal, actually. I don't have to show it. So yeah, I'm thinking about it, but by now I think, and actually I'm working on. I need time. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Maybe we have time for, yeah? Greta? Or, well, okay.
Yeah, thank you, all of you, for sharing your projects. It was very beautiful. And I have a question for Alex and, well, like the team. Because I think you said something very, very powerful in terms of how do you want it to be represented. And I'm also an educator, and I also teach a lot in terms of how can we start thinking differently about representation, and super differently from what photojournalist has been teaching us in the past years, you know? So I think I mean, especially because there's like young students also in the audience, it will be super nice to hear more about this in terms of how can we as photographers actually break barriers in terms of representation. If you were like thinking of what representations you don't like and what others would you want it to create, and how do you do that? Because I think it's also very common for us to say, I wanted to create something different, but how? You know, because the thing that I always tell my students is that we cannot hack the image and the culture system by just saying it, but how can you do it? Because another thing that I always tell them is that images create culture, and that's why we live in a world that is so fucked up. You know, so how can we start thinking and imagining and dreaming with a different world, and how can we actually create the environment to do that? So, thank you.
That's
Me?
you can start. Yeah.
Okay. Great question. I think for me, I just did not want this to be seen as political, you know? I just wanted it to be raw and true and show the nasty parts that I wasn't like too sure of, where I'm all scarred and scabby, and like I had not seen any of these photos before. I had nothing to go on. I was just blind faith, you know? And we documented all of it, even like my first testosterone shots and stuff like this. I just wanted it to reach people like me. Like I wanted it to be seen as like, this is you're not alone. Someone's done this before. This isn't political. There's no big message here. It's just that like, this is this raw experience, you know? I just hadn't seen it before, and that's what I wanted to do. I think you might agree with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, keep going.
That's it?
Yeah, I think I had seen a lot of stories on transitions and on queer communities, and we're both queer, and I think if you're photographing your own community, the way that you are interrogating those images is going to be different. I think there's not enough people photographing with the camera turned back at them. So I think that was already like unavoidable, and you know, to slip into cliche would have been a strange, I don't even know if I could call it a mistake. It would have been weird almost, but I think for me, when I'm thinking about images, I think what happens, what I see in journalism is that the dramatic moment is so often the cliche moment. And we're always drawn to the drama, like what's the crux of the story? It would be Alex in surgery, or like with the blood, or like the thing that you want to cause attention oftentimes is the most cliche, and like, what is it really saying besides look at me? And that's it. So I think my thought was the quieter moments, like the off moment, the moment leading up to the moment, the thing behind it. Like the softer, the exhale, the moment that feels a bit where you can like relax your body into the chair, like these moments. But yeah, and I think it doesn't look always so interesting. Like sometimes it is quite a banal photo, or like it's a normal moment, and those moments are the most true, or the most meaningful in the end. But yeah, I thought a lot about it. Like it's very, well, I think it's, when you're interrogating your own body and your position in the world, you are opening it up to so much criticism, and also the chance to be used in ways that are harmful and negative. So, you know, I think for me it was a lot of thinking about this aspect and having the chance to slow down. Again, it's like, this is why long form work is so beautiful, because you don't have to rush. You can really interrogate your decision making. You can sit with the images. We took many that we didn't use that I don't think are dramatic, but like the ones with needles, the ones that were a bit more intense, felt so uninteresting in the end.
Yeah.
But having the chance to slow down is everything. Like when you're rushing through the decisions, that's when you make mistakes, and that's when you revert to cliche. And why rush? Long form work is so beautiful that way. So we weren't in a hurry. We made images, we sat with them, we looked at them for like months before doing much with them, and let them kind of like make their own choices, you know? Yeah.
Thanks so much. Well, sadly, the festival is in a hurry, and so we have to stop here, and so I'll continue in French. Il y a une signature de livres à la librairie Les Bouquinistes qui commence dans 5 minutes. Il y a des transports qui sont prêts, je pense, pour emmener tout le monde. Donc le lancement de plusieurs livres, je pense de Olivier, de Frédéric, peut-être Vincent. Donc des beaux ouvrages à découvrir et rencontrer les auteurs. Alors voilà, merci beaucoup à tous et puis bonne fin de festival.